Okay, after I examined the entire statue for all the details, before I washed it, I then grabbed some dish soap and some warm water from the sink and took a bucket and took the statue outside and literally just washed it down. I let it dry for 5 days before I started doing anything to it because I didn't know what this specific statue was made out of. So I didn't know if it was going to absorb a lot of the water, but I just used like a wet rag. I didn't soak the statue. Here I just use these masks when I end up sanding everything. That's the only time I use the masks for this project. And also spray paint, but I use a different type of mask with the spray paint. That E6000 glue, that's what I use specifically for this part right here, and I just taped it so it can dry in place. And I let that dry for 3 days.
Okay, so I'm gonna use this on mainly I bought it because of this that I glued. I was just gonna put a little bit over, and then probably just fill in some like small holes, especially the nail holes in the back. This is what it's for. It's a nail 4-in-1 nail hole filler. Okay, so I just wanted to see how long it would dry for. I didn't know what else to put it on, so just did it on my art card. So see how well it sands down, the texture I'm working with. Seems to, I like it.
So on day 10 is its second wash, but I only get like really into the crevices that I missed, I guess. Well, I didn't miss because I gave it a really good wash, like how I'm washing it now, the first time. So this time I really wanted to get all the dirt off because it's like second or third wash. And I let it air dry basically, and I washed it away from the wind so there was no dust particles that blew onto it, and then I let it dry for 2 hours before I patched and sculpted any of the stuff that I was like irritated about and like wanted to cover already. So that's what is going on for day 3 of working on this statue. So the eye is resin coated, so the way I patched this slice that was in the eyelid, oh my gosh, I added a little bit at first and then I just kept like stuffing it and making sure that everything was layered in there and stuffed, and just basically, I don't know how to explain it, but you see I'm just like going above the eye bone. I don't know, it's just the structure of the face and how I had to sculpt and how I just applied the putty or whatever. I'm sorry, I really don't know what this specific product in this tube is called, but it worked so well. I use this makeup tool that's for special effects, and I use the end of the spatula that's with the product. It was okay. It didn't really do much justice. I don't really have a big spatula that I use for this project. The small spatula that I use worked so well to get into these tiny little holes and cuts, and just, I guess, the folds, there was just openings that you could see inside the statue, and I really wanted to get rid of those and cover them up. Okay, I literally let the washed statue and the patchwork dry for 7 days before I began on the bottom half of the statue. So I didn't like agitate any of the drying sculpted work that I did on November 10th. So the lip on the angel was like cut off. I don't know what happened to the other bottom half of the lip, but I enjoyed sculpting the lip so much. I don't know why, just watching back over and over as I edit this. It's very relaxing to watch me work, and I feel so accomplished and blessed that I actually was handed this project. So yeah, there is the finished lip. But I do add to it because I let it dry for a little bit, and then I go on to, just filling in holes of other parts of the statue. That's the angel's hand. And then I go back to the face, and I'm just starting to sand and re-add. I call it putty, but it's not. It's nowhere near putty. It's just, patchwork stuff. It feels really, really gritty. I guess that's what makes it really good, is because like the grit gets in between the cuts and stuff, and the way that it was pre-made, it was thick enough but thin enough to get in between those areas. So I was very thankful that I found this at Home Depot. And yeah, I just finally start to sand the statue, because I never sanded the statue after I washed it. I was just afraid, because like I said, that there were holes that you could see literally inside the hollow statue. I didn't want to sand any form of the face away, like, because it was so old and thin. I didn't want to create extra holes. I just didn't want to sand off any. You see how I'm sanding the cheek right now? I didn't want to do extra sanding that was unnecessary. Like, I didn't want to do 2 days of sanding. But yeah, I'm just sanding off extra like paint and stuff. And if there was any holes that were too tiny to patch, I just sanded those so they didn't look so hollow. And then finally I get to sand her makeup away. I didn't sand too much of her structure away. I didn't think that would be necessary at all, because like I said, it's a really old statue. So when I do finally get to paint the statue, I noticed that there are a lot of waves of the actual structure, like between her skin and her hairline by her ear. And I was just so nervous to sand those. Like, I didn't want to go into the statue anymore. So I sanded what I could with something really micro fine. I'm sorry, I don't remember the number, but it was super micro fine. And now I'm just showing you all my sanded patchwork. And yeah, I'm just super prepped and ready for painting. And I wait like 3 days before I start to paint. So now I'm just wiping off all the sanded powder and any grit that I find that will ruin the paint job, and I wipe it down really good. I probably wipe it down for like the next 3 days. Like, whenever I walk by it, like, I'm just wiping it, because it's just, there's so many nooks and crannies, as you can tell, and I didn't want my brush and the paint to cause any weird effect on the final look. So yeah, stay tuned for part 2. Thank you so much for watching, guys.